one thing I feel like I keep hearing more and more about is this thing. So basically, if you look at the market cap of the biggest tech companies. Some of them are famous, some of them are not famous, but they like come up in a lot of places like Nvidia or Samsung. And one that is apparently the biggest gaming company and is a Chinese company is Tencent. I was just recently listening to this Glenn Beck clip with this.
And those are the people increasingly running the show. And they think if we don't go beyond China's surveillance system and mega city, smart city model, we will fail. And then you have people like Elon Musk coming in and saying, I want to take over Twitter for free speech. And then he also says, I want to make Twitter into basically like WeChat, which is, basically a surveillance app to use in China. That's for your finances, your social media, pretty much everything is on that app. They even call it the Everything app. And that's his model. And the parent company of that, Tencent, is one of Tesla's shareholders and, most active advisors.
I keep feeling like I'm hearing the name Tencent. When I actually first heard of Tencent, it was actually from following like some streamers and musicians on YouTube, mainly like gaming musicians, like guitarists or singers, whatever, who happen to, I associate with video games. But basically, I once heard of one of them talking about this guy, Mason Lieberman, who's a producer, very smart man, very accomplished man, and he works for Tencent. And basically, I guess if he's a producer, he's like the boss of like at least, I don't know if there's like a list, but of like at least 10 YouTubers slash streamers. Like I know some of the names, a lot of big names like Lee and Lee, Caleb Hiles, Adriana Figueroa, Family Jewels. I don't know anybody else, but I'm gonna at least go by the picture and say it's at least like 10. And 10, Tencent, ha ha ha. But my point is, I sometimes wonder, is there reason to be like suspicious? Are some of these YouTubers and streamers like Chinese slaves basically? Because you hear suspicious stuff about them. Also, here's another interesting thing. There's this thing, apparently he ran this this GoFundMe thing, where basically apparently this has happened like once or 2 years, where apparently for the past 2 years they've done this thing where they want to raise $100,000 to support animators. I read this whole page. And it's like, he keeps talking about how animators are not compensated fairly, which I am not saying is not true, but it's just like, he's talking about like animators. It's like, first of all, why are you just talking about animators? I'm sure like almost everybody in animation departments and studio departments are not paid well. And he even starts going on about like giving them like rent and stuff and like paying their rent and like giving them homes as if they need that. I'm like, isn't that going too far? Like, why are you also saying that? What about all the other people who don't have rent paid for them? They don't happen to be animators. And I'm just like, I guess I'm just not entirely sure how much I trust this. Like, and I guess it makes me wonder if maybe some sort of charity things like this partially go to things like Tencent. Like, oh, you know something? Here's another example. There was something, I know the past 2 years, numerous of these what do you call them? No, in this case it wasn't. I think it would have been people under Tencent. It was, if you search the Runaway Guys, which is like Chugga Conroy, Proton John, and one other person. They do this thing every year because they're such nice folk, such nice charitable folk. I think it's called Runaway Coliseum. Well, basically, they do this concert thing, and it's music related. I know some of the people under Tencent are involved with this, where they raise a shit ton of money. They do it, the last 2 years, it was to this organization called Direct Relief. These fucking people, they're pretending COVID was still a problem, so they were doing it for COVID. I'm pretty sure this last year they raised $400,000. And I'm just saying, I feel like, honestly, especially when it comes to like the charity stuff,
here it comes.
I'm like suspicious. Like, what if a cut of that is just all for the sake of feeding Tencent? What if Tencent just views all these streamers and musicians as if they're just their little slaves? That's my theory. Like, you think these people are freelancers? Like, they're actually free? What are you fucking talking about? Like, they're always like a little bit better when they just start off on YouTube, but then when they start partnering with people, that's when they realize, oh, I have to start only doing stuff involving video games that just came out, or only do stuff, or Twitch stream instead of doing music on streams. I have to, I don't know, just play Mario Kart with people online and make sure I'm networking with the right fight other YouTubers or whatever. That's all you ever see these days. It's like who they're associated with and if they're following trendy stuff. And I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the time it's not the content creator's fault. It's probably just them being forced to, or else they don't get paid by fucking people like Mason Lieberman. So, you know, just a conspiracy theory video. Are the Chinese taking over us all? Either way, I don't trust these people.